Welcome back, everyone. Look who's here. I don't introduce you anymore. You just start laughing.
I just start laughing.
I don't know what that's about, whatever. And before we start today, though, a definite moment of silence, please, for the SEALs who gave their life so that Chuck could wear this vest.
This is 100% man-made materials.
Oh, okay.
It was a Christmas present.
Okay. You know, you look a pretty rock star. I got him in.
I'm feeling a little bit
With
rock
the
star. When I
success-
come by you, I have to, step it up a little
compete.
bit.
All right.
Yeah. Well, not compete, just step it up a little bit.
Hey, with the success of Rochmon, I'm not surprised, by the way. We're rolling like into 30-something sessions with Rochmon, right?
It's so much fun. I have such a
can't
blast.
believe it.
I have such a blast. It's so much fun digging into an album and then sharing it with people. We get a chance to hear it again for the first time, which is just amazing.
Oh, I love the way you said that because my wife and I have been to so many Rochmans, we couldn't count them, and that's the thought. The thought is there, all of a sudden you almost feel like you're at the recording session or you're in the living room with these artists, and that's due to you and the way you do it. Chuck, these are phenomenal. The album coming up, again, I don't know how, well, there's probably no end to this if we leave it to your discretion. But how about Blood on the Tracks, Dylan? If my calculations are correct, I think we're about 15 albums in, 16 albums, 1975.
Yep, 74 that was recorded, 75 was released in January 75, yep.
And as usual with Dylan, nothing is normal.
Nothing's normal.
Nothing.
They have a band in New York. It's his first album back with Columbia Records. They start recording. They get through a few songs. Dylan starts firing musicians. At the end of the day, he's stuck with the bass player.
This is unbelievable. Now, if you know Dylan, of course, if you go way back into the John Hammond, John Hammond, by the way, is a iconic record producer who's responsible not only for finding Dylan, but maybe the likes of Billie Holiday, Aretha Franklin, Bruce Springsteen.
Yep.
So this is the league we're in. But Dylan, not a trained voice, to say the least.
Yes.
But as soon as you do get attracted to this incredible magnetism, you realize this is somebody very unusual. This is a take one guy. You like it? Fine. If the buttons on my jacket are hitting the guitar, I don't care. We're moving on. And by the way, if you're a musician trying to follow him, it's never going to be the same.
Yep.
Take one to take two is not.
He may put the bridge after the chorus. He may put the bridge before the chorus. You just don't know. He does it to be spontaneous and interesting to him. He doesn't really pay attention to the other musicians in the room, and he wants it to be spontaneous.
Now, we're talking when you come back to Columbia Records after a couple of albums off on Asylum, right?
Yeah, Planet Waves and a live album with the band, yeah.
Right, and you're attracting the likes of Phil Ramone.
Yep.
Another iconic music industry person who's sitting behind the control and has to know when to hit record, when not to hit record, how to keep his artists happy, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And the band, by the way, is the band from Deliverance.
Deliverance, yeah, Eric Weisberg and Deliverance, and these guys are seasoned studio musicians.
Yes,
Eric
right,
Weisberg
totally
was making $100,000 a year in 1974 as a studio musician.
Yeah, right.
He was that's like $500,000 now. He was doing very well.
Yeah, banjo player.
Banjo player, yeah. And he had a hit single with dueling banjos, and he took this band out on the road, and Ramon saw Weisberg in the hallway and said, "You guys available? I've got Dylan coming in for a session." And he called all the guys, and the guys were all available, so they came in to play. And they played on one song. They're on one song on the album, and they're gone.
Now they're gone. Okay, so he kept one of the musicians, bass player, right?
Tony Brown, yep.
Dylan grew up in Minnesota, goes back to Minnesota. His brother, David.
Yep.
Right, not David Dylan. David Zimmerman. You finish the story.
Well, they burn an acetate for him, which is not a permanent version, but it's something you can play on a record player. Rough cut, yep, exactly. And they he brings it with him to Minneapolis and plays it for his brother. And David Zimmerman says, "No way. You can't release this. This is all songs sound the same. It's just." It lacks energy. There's nothing going on, and it doesn't sound like it's any kind of. It's not really honoring your electric period. There's not really any band on here to really of note. And Dylan takes it to heart, and says, "Well, sort of palms to God. What do I do?" And David is a music producer. He works with the Studio Sound 80 in Minneapolis, and he goes and gets a bunch of musicians that he knows, local musicians, and has them come into the studio. And in 2 days, they re-record 5 songs, and the 5 songs that we know from
Tangled Up in Blue.
Yeah, Tangled Up in Blue,
Right,
Simple Twist of Fate. I mean,
Right,
just
right,
really
right.
unbelievable musicians. And the difference between the studio musicians in New York and studio musicians in Minneapolis is the guys in New York just had more chances to do their gig. As you can imagine, being a studio musician in Minneapolis, you get the gig, but you'd also be doing a bunch of other side work, you know. So it's just amazing, and it's such a great record. And the thing that's really killer about this is those Minneapolis musicians that recorded these iconic songs never credited. They're not credited on the album at all.
You know, I was going to ask you that question because in looking at the album, I don't recall ever any of what you just told us. But here's Rochmon. You find out these things. You do, man.
Yes.
That they were never even credited on the album. Again, part of that sort of, that just very individual way that Dylan just did everything.
I mean, he didn't trust anyone with his stuff.
Yeah.
He had such a level of distrust. The fact that he trusted his brother David at this point, this did change their relationship. Their relationship was not as close as it became after Blood on the Tracks.
Oh, okay.
Bob Dylan started to trust his brother David, and to the point where David is the keeper of the legacy. He has control of all the stuff now, and runs that part of the business for Bob Dylan. One of the reasons that Dylan came back to Columbia was he could get control of his masters. It was one of the things he was able to negotiate. So this was a big album for him, very important record. And there's a lot of differences between the ways the songs, and the beauty of this is doing something like this 43 years after the fact. That's the beauty of this, is you find things, you hear things come out that were never out before. And they just released another album, the Bootleg series, the Blood on the Tracks bootleg
And
album.
the bootleg are the original New York recordings?
Original New York
Yes,
recordings.
got it. Oh,
where he's
man.
singing Simple Twist of Fate he talking about he in the first couple of verses, and when it gets to the album in Minneapolis, it becomes I. So it's he adapts and changes, and things are different, and it's just amazing. It's an amazing story, and it's a great record.
Now, isn't Idiot Wind on?
Idiot Wind, yeah.
Okay, now the reason I bring that up is that, some of the insights that Dylan had into society, and the reason he became such a cultural icon is some of the stuff that's actually timeless. And you can't listen to Idiot Wind without recognizing there may be some comparisons to politics
to
today.
politics today.
Right.
And it's not a political album. This is really his
that's
breakup
right.
album with his wife, Sarah. Actually, Jacob Dylan said that he can't listen to Blood on the Tracks without hearing his parents arguing with one another.
Oh.
And it's really even though Dylan denies that it's about that,
Yeah, right. But again, with Dylan, you can't track Blood on the Tracks. You can't track the behavior. You can't track anything about it. But
it's an amazing
what
record.
mastery. I was late to the party. Highway 61 Revisited, because of Like a Rolling Stone, was when I got on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've never gotten off my whole life.
Yeah.
Through phases with the band, through phases with whatever musicians, gospel. There's some absolutely incredible music.
Incredible stuff.
And again, take one, take two, in and out of the studio in a couple of days.
Yep. Gone.
Hello.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, he's the words cultural icon.
Right.
This is
Yeah,
Dylan.
that's it.
And
Without a
he
doubt.
influenced everybody. Everybody.
Well, you've got a chance. First Rochmon for Blood on the Tracks is sold out. The second one is Wednesday, January the 30th at Cafe Lena. It will sell out. And the only thing I can tell you, having been to most of these 30 presentations, they are absolutely brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
Casual, comfortable, engaging, and you'll learn a lot.
It's so much fun. So much fun. Tickets are
great.
available at cafelena.org. It's
Cafe with two
F's.
Right.
Yes.
Cafelena.org. You can get tickets Wednesday, January 30th. Get there 6:30.
Yes.
And you'll never turn back.
It's a great time. It's going
Great
to be a
to
lot
see
of
you,
fun.
my
Jesse,
friend.
thank you so much.
As
I
always,
really
Chuck.
appreciate it. Thank you.
See this interview again. You can head to our website, looktvonline.com.